Gentlemen, welcome to the Be the Man podcast. I am your host, Greg Denning. I'm the creator and coach of the Be the Man Masterclass and Tribe. And right now I am sitting at the beach watching the sun set into the Atlantic Ocean on the coast of Portugal. And I'm here with my sweetheart, my wife. We're celebrating our 21st anniversary. And so she and I are here having this epic trip, and I thought it would be very fitting to do a podcast about investing in your marriage. Because with every good thing in life, it requires investment. There's a price to be paid, and the more we invest, the better we invest, the more returns we get out of it. And I can't think of anything where that is more true than in marriage, and how much that affects the quality and outcome of your life dramatically. Way more important than your finances, which are extremely important, and more important than your career, which is extremely important. But man, investing in a quality way with both quality and quantity into your marriage is the game changer for how good your relationships can be, and I think the outcome of your life, because it's built around your relationships. And so we're on this trip, and every year we do a 10 to 14 day trip, just the two of us. And sometimes we'll go with other couples, and sometimes we'll just roll with just us. And we do that every year. And then we try to do overnighters every month, and little getaways every quarter. And that's just kind of a baseline. And then we try to do at least one date a week, and that's just baseline stuff. Now, some people are like, that's like shooting for the stars. Like, wow, that'd be incredible. Like, one day we'll get to the date a week thing, and I'm like, hey, that should be your baseline. And so today I'm going to share some ideas like that. And so it's like, hey, let's establish a baseline here where you set this standard, and that's your minimum, right? Those are the minimum requirements. Like somebody one time said, they think about the 10 commandments, for example, and they're like, oh yeah, well, that's so hard and so high up there. We just got to keep the 10 commandments. And the other approach is like, no, that's the bare minimum. Like that's the absolute bare minimum of appropriate behavior. And I want to invite you to establish something like that in your life, particularly in this episode for your marriage. What is the bare minimum that's happening when life is crazy and chaotic, and you're stressed, and maybe you're working hard, or things are tough? You still hit the bare minimum, but for the most part and most of the time, you're actually living by a much higher standard of investing regularly in your marriage. Now, in the work that Rachel and I get to do with couples, and we lead trips around the world, and we meet with people all the time, we are constantly getting messages. Please for help. We have conversations with really good wives who just wish their husbands would be more. They love them. They adore them. In fact, gentlemen, I'll be totally honest. I often meet couples, and I'm just in awe that woman has stayed with that man. Like, he is not earning it, he doesn't deserve it, and it's her kindness and long suffering to put up with his crap. And that cannot be the case with you. Your wife should not just be suffering along, putting up with you. That's not an awesome marriage, right? There has to be some mutual tolerance, of course, but she shouldn't just be enduring you. That just cannot be happening. And so these good wives, they want their wives to be, or they want their husbands rather, to be better lovers and better husbands and better leaders, better providers, better protectors, better fathers. And in all these roles we have, now some of you might be really good in one of those areas, and you might do that to a fault in some occasions. where you are so focused on that one, you lose focus or have a negligent focus on the other areas. And the key to being a truly great man is being able to do all of your roles, your most important roles, very, very well. And yes, it can be done, right? There may be time periods, moments when one role gets more focused than the other. That's fine. But those are temporary times. That's not chronic. Those are acute moments of giving intense attention to one area over the others. But for the most part, you should be really good at all your roles and be working on that. And so I'm going to throw out some ideas here of over 20 years of study of human performance and working with thousands of people in my own experiments. And I want to invite you to consider, and if you are in a spot where you can jot these down, just kind of I'm going to share some specifics here, but overall, I want to give you this idea of how you can invest thought, time, money, energy, focus, attention, resources, and yourself, whatever else you can give of you into your marriage to make your marriage genuinely extraordinary. It can be so good, even if it's struggling right now. In fact, even if you've been through a divorce and you're looking to start over, you already have started over, or if it has felt flat. I notice often marriages, you've been married for a while, it kind of gets to the spot where it can get dull or boring or so familiar that it just slips into kind of a humdrum existence, and you're more like roommates than lovers. And we'll get into that, but I'm going to share several things that I hope are extremely helpful, and I hope to really drive home this idea of it is an absolute necessity. And I hope you'll set the standard for yourself and make it a requirement for yourself to be a really good investor in your own marriage. Okay, so one of the very first things is that sometimes, perhaps all the time, the very best way to invest in your marriage is to not do harm. Don't injure or hurt your wife. Obviously, that goes physically. Don't ever do that. Real men don't. But it's also true mentally and emotionally. Don't be that guy. Now, you might be like, I would never do that. I would never hurt my wife. I'm not going to do that. But I've seen good men be very critical, chronically critical. It's ongoing. You've probably noticed this too. You see it in these relationships, like, man, he is really critical of her. Now, obviously, there's the other side of this, and we're not going to address that today. I'm talking about you and what you can do to invest in your marriage. I get it. Many of you are going to be concerned and have questions and commentary about, well, what about my wife? And what about those things? And we'll get to that. But you take care of you. And almost always that improves the whole relationship. And it will improve your wife's behavior towards you as you improve your behavior towards her. And investing here, this isn't, there's a little bit of checking yourself and be like, hey, just don't do that. So a lot of times I don't know what the metaphor is, like you're just poking holes in your own bucket, right? And you got to stop the leaks. You got to stop doing damage. And just that step right there, just stop doing damage, will bring back so much into your marriage. So the first place to start investing is to stop being rude. Stop being critical. Stop being mean. Stop being negligent. Stop. Well, I was going to do a double negative here. Stop not noticing her, right? In other words, start noticing her a lot more. And if you'll stop doing harm, that's often one of the biggest and best investments you can make into your marriage and your relationship. Now, taking that to the next level is to treat her like your queen. and not like your servant. Now, there's a fine line to this, because in a marriage you each have roles and responsibilities. So she may have a role of, I don't know, in many of your marriages, your wife would have the primary role of maybe homemaker, right? Of taking care of the home. But that doesn't mean you can expect her or treat her like she's your servant and supposed to clean up after you. That's a huge one. Man, so many men just expect their wives to clean up after them. And and then they're like, well, no, man, no, that's low. That's rude. I would never expect my wife to clean up after me. Oh, yeah? Well, did you wash your dish or you just leave it on the table? No, I'd never leave my plate on the table, right? I'll take it to the sink. And, oh, yeah, who do you think's going to wash it if you just leave it in the sink? Right? And so it's like this underlying expectation of like, well, someone else will take care of it. She'll take care of it. I just leave it around. And again, maybe she does. Maybe she's like, hey, I'm happy to do it. But don't have that entitlement expectation, I guess is what I'm saying. And don't treat her like that. So if your wife enjoys the cooking and wants that to be part of her role, if she does the cooking, great. Thank her for it profusely as this beautiful privilege, this wonderful thing she does. Don't be an entitled brat about it, and don't expect it. You get what I'm saying? I'm trying to articulate this in a way like treat her like a queen, not like your servant. And again, yes, we can have some expectations of roles and responsibilities, but there is a fine line there. I hope you can kind of catch what I'm trying to articulate here. There's a difference of what we expect and how we treat her. All right, let's jump into some specifics here. Things that I've seen, and again, you can add to your list, right? You're going to know specifically for you. And I hope as we go through this kind of conversation here, it'll bring to your mind instances you've seen with other marriages, because you get together with other couples, you grew up in a family, and you've seen other people interact. I want you to make a list and keep an ongoing list. This might be actually really fantastic exercise to do in part of your journaling and your writing. Create a note, and maybe it has two sides. One of like things you see other men doing that are really solid and seem to be working, and things you see other men doing that just don't work at all. And then as you write those down, it becomes clear, you bring it to your awareness, and then you might notice the things that you need to do better specifically, or maybe you've slipped into some bad habits of things you've been doing maybe for a long time, or you just started doing. Because your marriage is dynamic, it shifts, right? It changes a lot. The longer you get married and your kids change ages, and you might move to a different location or change career or get to a new spot in your career. I mean, you're always growing and evolving, and so is your wife. And so the marriage is dynamic. What used to work may not work anymore. And what's working right now may not work next year. And so you got to roll with this, and that's part of investing and part of being in there. But let's throw out some common denominators. First one, turn off or get off your phone. Turn off the TV. I would just say in a blanket statement, the more that you are off of those things when you are at home, and especially with her and her presence, the better off you're going to be, man. I've said this before, I'm going to keep saying it. Many wives will view the TV or the phone or distractions, whatever it is, your iPad or whatever, any kind of screen, anything like that, any kind of entertainment or distraction, or they're going to see that as competition. And in honesty, isn't it? Isn't it competing with her for your attention and your affection and your time and your focus and your resources? And I'll be straight with you. Many of you are giving more of your resources and your time and attention and your focus and your energy and your money and your thoughts to sports or entertainment or games, or you're bringing work home or whatever it is, right? And in a very real way, she has a case against you, man. So the more you can be off of those things, and whether you can just kick it into airplane mode, just leave it in the other room, discipline yourself just to be off of it, engage with her. Engage with the kids, engage with the family. Turn those things off way more often. Some of you are going to need to just get rid of it. Get rid of the TV. And I'm dead serious. I've encouraged people to do this for a long, long time. We decided when we were dating that we weren't going to have a TV. We weren't going to watch TV. We're going to buy books, read books, spend time together, have more focus. And over the years, I've encouraged a lot of people to say, hey man, just try it. Unplug your TV and leave it unplugged, or go on a media fast for weeks or months, or take your TV and go put it in a storage unit, or just get rid of it. And man, I've seen so many amazing things happen when you remove that from your life. And I'll just throw this out here, like, watch. You might be like, no, that's how we connect. That's how we spend time together. Like that's how we're bonding. And I got to be straight with you here, man. Watching shows isn't that great of an investment in your relationships, right? Just like being in the same room doesn't necessarily mean you're spending time together. I get it. I like watching great movies with my wife. But I think we all have to be honest, like that's not the best way to invest and to be really engaged. There are so many other and better things we can do to make investments that are higher quality. Next is dates. I already talked about that. But make sure you're doing a date or two a week. Make them count. A little extra effort here goes a long way. Most men hide behind their excuses, and they are just excuses of why that's not happening. We don't have the budget. We don't have a babysitter. We live far away. We can't go do that. We can't go do this. And you just come up with all these excuses, but they're just honestly just excuses, gentlemen. If it meant way more to you, I promise you would find a way to make it happen. So, how much does your wife mean to you? Make it happen. If you're too busy, stop being that busy. Start being more productive, more effective. In fact, if you are that busy, you have to make this a priority. So she gets your undivided attention on a date that matters. And don't just go out and do the usual thing, the normal thing. Do some planning, do some preparing. It doesn't take that much extra effort to come up with something that's thoughtful. And if the budget's tight, it doesn't have to be expensive. There were lots of times when, early on, when money was tight, man, it would just be a walk. Some of my most cherished memories are just walking around, holding her hand and talking. And when we had little ones we couldn't like go away from very far or very long, or we didn't have babysitters around. And again, like with the babysitter thing, right? If you got to find someone to watch your kids, like there are services out there. You can hire somebody, like do the work to get that in place. And that it's you, man. Take ownership of this. Make it happen. We've done it all over the world. Where we were living with our families, we traveled. We'd find people, hire people. Like we'd build a community around it so we can make sure that was a priority. Again, when you make it a priority, you'll figure out how to make it happen. But make them count. A little extra effort goes a long way. Next, do what you say you will do. That is a massive uninvestment. I'm making up a little word there. When you say you're going to do something and you don't do it, you're withdrawing from that relationship account. And you're hurting it. If you do this a lot, you say yes, you say you will, you make commitments, but you don't keep them. Even if she knows, even if it's not directly at her, right? If she knows you make commitments, you don't keep your commitments, if you say things, you don't follow through with what you say, she's going to lose respect for you. And it's going to, even though it may not have anything to do with you and her, it'll affect your relationship. She'll think less of you. And you might not, in your mind, you might be like, it's not even a big deal, man. I said I'd do that, whatever, I'll get to it. That's not how it works, man. Become the kind of man who does what he says he will do. And if you are questioning whether you can pull that off, then don't say yes. You with me on that one? Like, say yes to fewer things. It would be better to say no more often and follow through on what you do than to constantly be the yes man, but you don't actually follow through. So especially if she's been asking you perpetually, hey, will you take care of that? Will you plan that? Will you fix this thing? Will you call that person? Will you be in charge of this? And you're like, yep, yeah, I got that, babe. Yep, oh yeah, yep. And she has to keep asking you, and you still haven't done it. Man, that's a big takeaway from the marriage. Next, be manly. She married a man, so be a man. And if you have become, I don't know, soft, weak, cowardly, whatever way is less manly, be more manly. Your wife is going to be attracted to manliness. And yes, that looks different, right? And there's a variety to that. There's some common denominators, some baselines. But be more manly in everything you do. And not the dorky kind or the rough, rude kind. Just be a man that's respectable. Be tough. Be manly. Just you think through that. Ask her what it is she admires. Ask her, in fact, have this honest conversation. Ask her what she would like you to do better. Ask her how you can be a better husband, how you can invest more in your marriage. Like that, she's going to give you the biggest indicators for how you can invest, man. And take notes and follow through. Circling back to doing what you say you do. If you have this conversation with her, say, babe, how can I invest more in our marriage? And she tells you, man, do it. Do it. Be more manly. Next, fight for her. Defend her. Be her hero. I see a lot of men, not only do they not stick up for their wives, they don't defend her, they'll actually mock her, tease her, make fun of her, tear her down. And whether they're doing it privately or in public, which is even worse, or in front of their friends, mocking her, tearing her down, teasing her, making her look bad. Like that to me is just absolutely unacceptable. And hurts the marriage and the relationship a lot. If you want to invest in your marriage, man, fight for your wife, to win her, to protect her, to defend her. Be her hero. Help her, like rescue her from those situations where she wants to be rescued. And be that warrior for her that she wants and needs you to be. Don't be the guy fighting against your wife, man. Woo, that one gets me fired up. Fight for her, not against her. Next, improve yourself a lot. That, man, personal growth and development is sexy, fellas, and it's attractive. And your wife she'll notice, man. So work on yourself. Work on every area of yourself. Work on your whole life. If you got some extra weight to drop it. Right? If you need to work on your education, get it. Like, just get into personal development, growth, like whatever you want to do, work on you. Work on yourself. Be consistent and persistent in improvement and growth and development so you are more of a man. That is a massive investment. It almost seems like selfish, right? You're just working on you, but one of the best investments you can make into your marriage is to make more of yourself. We already talked about trips. Next, listen to her. Actually, I'll go back to trips. Plan some trips. Get them on the calendar. Do it right now. You can do this. You might be out walking, but make a note or throw something on the calendar. Maybe schedule something on your calendar right now while you can to spend some time planning a trip, preparing a trip, or make a commitment, say, by the end of this week, we will have a trip on the calendar. Make this happen. And you can do it. Again, you can do it with your budget. If you need more money, earn more money, man. Stop using that as an excuse. If you need an extra few $100 or a few $1,000 or whatever, 20 grand, whatever you want to do, earn it. Make it happen. Figure it out. Like, set aside money for these trips and then set aside time for them and get them on the calendar. If it doesn't get scheduled, it doesn't get done. So on that one, talk to your wife or surprise her if she likes that. But you plan something, get it on there, and make it happen. Make those trips happen. Next is listening to her, man. I will never tire of emphasizing how absolutely critical it is for you to listen to your wife. Become a phenomenal listener. Really engaged, truly interested, really curious. You might think you know her, but I am confident there are depths that you have not explored. There are things you still don't know about your sweetheart. And she wants to tell you things. She wants to talk to you. Mostly, she just wants to be heard and acknowledged. Listen to her, man. Make that one of your paths of mastery, that you are dead set and committed to becoming a world-class listener to your wife. And what's interesting, that will also be incredibly important for your children, especially for your daughters. They'll want you to hear too. And it can't be, gentlemen, what I see far too often of this, yeah, well, whatever, yeah. And you're kind of there but not there, right? Lights are on but no one's home. Or you got your phone or the newspaper or magazine or whatever else, or you're watching the TV and, yeah, I'm right here. Don't do that, man. That's lame. If you really want to invest in your marriage, listen to your wife and listen really well. Next, learn her love language and love her in her love language. I mean, you're going to love in your way too and in lots of ways, but if your wife has a particular way that she wants to be loved by you, man, figure that out and do that for her. If you constantly are buying gifts and she's like, oh, thanks, that's sweet, but I'd really love it if you'd help out more, right? She wants to be loved with acts of service, or maybe she wants quality time or touch, or, there's the 5 love languages. Go through that. Read that book again. Read it together. Like, whatever. Just talk about it. Figure out how she wants you to love her and love her that way. And if you're sitting here listening, it's like, yeah, but that's not my way, man. That's not my thing. I'm not interested in your thing. She's not interested in your thing. She's interested in her thing. I had to make that shift because I really wanted to love a certain way. And she was like, oh, thanks. I can tell you really love me your way. And finally I was like, okay, what is it you want? And as we talked through it, and I remember in my mind, I'm like, yeah, but that's not what I like to do. That's not my way. And then I caught myself thinking, this isn't about me. This isn't about what I like to do. It's about loving her how she wants to be loved. Now, obviously, there's growth and development and evolution of that, right? Where as we're becoming more cultivated, more well-rounded people, individuals, and in a more evolved marriage, we actually all will learn how to love and give love in all the languages, right? And to receive it. But love her in her language. As a part of that, next thing, notice her. Notice everything. Pay attention to the details. It is one of the chronic kind of common, the iconic man. He's kind of clueless. And he doesn't notice the details. And his wife is like constantly trying to point out the details and trying to hint and exaggerate things and bring them to his attention. He still doesn't get it. He's like, what? I didn't even notice. And she's like, I went through all this effort for you to notice me and to notice that. And we're like, huh? Well, I didn't even know. Right? So pay more attention. That doesn't take that much more effort or that much more time. Pay attention. Notice things. Compliment her. Praise her. And this all has to be sincere. If you try to fake it, man, she'll see right through it. Express appreciation all the time for all the things she does. Again, circling back to not feeling entitled, not treating her like a servant. Yeah, maybe that is her role and she's doing it well and she's been doing it, but how often do you express deep appreciation that she's doing it? Here's one way I like to think about it is just stop and say, what would things be like if she weren't doing this? If she weren't doing this role, if she weren't taking care of this, how would that affect me? How would that affect our family? And all of a sudden you start feeling a lot more grateful, man. and you start expressing gratitude for things you maybe have been taking for granted. So notice more, compliment more, praise more, express appreciation more, a lot more. Pay attention to the details. Next, never let things get old or boring or dull or humdrum. Too many of you you get used to each other. Right now Rachel and I, we work together from home, and we educate our kids, right? We do homeschooling or world schooling. So it's not like we have several hours each day apart from each other. We do all of our life together. And for years, lots of years now, we've had almost every day, almost had 3 meals a day together. And we still love being together. And we still are excited to be together. And I make a deliberate effort for this, right? I never am going to let it get old or dull or boring or humdrum. We're never just going to get so used to each other. We're like, oh, okay, hey, you again. Like, find ways to mix it up and be excited and be sincere about it. And maybe it's just flipping the switch. It's just choosing to be excited, to be engaged, to be together and love it. But if you're just like, oh, it's the same old, man, switch up whatever you need to switch up. Do you guys, from simple things, do you need to change out what you eat or what you wear? Maybe you both need a whole new wardrobe. Or maybe you need to switch up your routines and your habits and some of your hobbies or the things you do. Maybe change some of those things up. Maybe you need to go somewhere new. Maybe you need to move. I don't know what it is, but keep it real. Keep it exciting. Keep it alive. It doesn't have to get old and dull and boring just because it's been going on for a long time. If it gets boring, it's your fault. If it's old, that's you, man. It's on you. And this is an invitation for you, even a challenge here, brother. Don't let it get old. Take ownership of that. Take responsibility for that to keep it new and fresh and exciting. Which leads us to the next one. Keep courting your wife. Date her. Love on her. Keep expressing that love. Keep pursuing her. And I'm being serious. Keep pursuing her. For the most, this is a bold generalization, but I think most women still want to be pursued. Keep pursuing her. Next, this one's an important one. Don't be annoying. Man, that is such an anti-investment. Don't be annoying, right? You know what I'm talking about. You've seen men be like this, and you've noticed it. Maybe you have been. Don't be annoying. I see it often, actually. We're out engaging with people all the time, and I see it in our travels. We see it in our day-to-day, where you can just tell. Oh, the wife's like, oh man, I'm so annoyed by him. Don't be annoying. This is one of the best investments you can ever make in your marriage. Stop being annoying. And figure out what it is. What is it that annoys her? And if you have some little quirk or idiosyncrasy, or like somebody one time said, an idiot-syncrasy, if you've got those things, stop, man. Stop being annoying. And maybe ask her, say, babe, what do I do that annoys you? Stop. I had to do that. And you might think, well, that's just my personality. That's just who I am. Just love me as I am. Like, no, man, that's weak. That's a weak excuse. It's not manly. Figure out what's annoying and stop it. Right? Next, don't disengage or disappear or disconnect when you're supposed to be engaged. And we talked about that a little bit earlier. Like, if you're supposed to be there, don't just kind of slip away, and and if you're there, be fully present. Don't disappear to a device, or it's easy to disappear even into your own head, where you're sitting there and you're there, but mentally you're checked out and you're thinking about something else. Don't do that. If you're supposed to be engaged, be fully engaged. Be all there, right? Fully present. Don't slip away. Don't disconnect. If you're supposed to be engaged, you're supposed to be there. Be all in. She'll love that. That's a huge investment. Next, make your crossroads count. So this kind of goes back to keeping things exciting, right, and real. Wherever you have crossroads with her, at any moment during the day, If you go out to work and come back, or she goes and comes back, or you cross paths wherever that is, every time you cross paths with her, make the crossroads count. Just think through that. Give it a little bit of thoughtfulness, a little bit of intention, and say, how can I make this count? Every time I see her, how can I make it count? Your comings and goings, like when you're leaving or she's leaving and then coming back, those are the main ones that you've got to make those count. Come up with something special, something real, something that counts for both of you. Make those count. You can figure out something, some little tradition, something you do to make your crossroads count. And again, as a minimum, the coming and going, the leaving, when you go away and come back, don't just make it blah, right? Whatever. Don't just let it slip. Like, I'm back. Whatever. I came. Don't get home and do nothing. Don't leave without doing something. It's treating something this sacred way too casually. Next, stop getting upset so easily and so much and so intensely. It is an anti-investment to be getting upset about all kinds of things and being angry and bothered and yelling and barking and being annoyed. That's annoying. In fact, this is one of the things really annoying, man. Stop getting upset so easily and so often and so intensely. Some of you get so upset and over what? And you forget about it the next day or the next week or the next month. Can you remember about what you were exactly 1 month ago, what you were so upset about? I doubt it. A year ago today, what was it you were so upset about? You just couldn't believe that was happening. Can you remember that? No. But every time you do that, it takes a toll on your relationships. And again, even if it's not directed at your wife, she feels it, and there's effect on the marriage. So come back to a place, man, where you're not getting upset so easily. Next, make sure that your wife enjoys sex as much or more than you do. This one's a big priority and a big mistake. And maybe some of you are like, yeah, we're good, sex is good, she loves it, great. For a lot of people, perhaps even a majority, the wives aren't enjoying it. They're tolerating it. So if you want to have an awesome marriage and an awesome relationship, make sure your sexual life is awesome. And a major part of making sure the sexual life is awesome is making sure that your wife is enjoying it. Figure that out. Talk to her. Work through it. Learn about it. Just make sure that she's enjoying it as much or more than you are. Next, be super healthy, man. That's attractive. That's an investment. It's an investment in the quality of your marriage and the length of your marriage. Do not, whoa man, this one gets me fired up too. Do not become this major liability to your wife because of your poor health. Don't do it now, or don't do it in the long term, right? If you're unhealthy now and it has this cost, it takes this toll on your energy levels and your engagement and your life and the way you engage with her in everything you can do together as a couple, in sex, in your engagement with the kids, and your whole lifestyle and quality of life is determined by your health, if you're in poor health. And then on top of that, you have more severe health problems when you're older or even die early, right? That's lame. And it's on you, man. So don't force that on your wife. And don't be a liability, be an asset. So get super healthy. That's a big investment into your marriage. And then next one is be intelligent, be educated. That's sexy, man. And it's an investment. Nobody wants to be married to a dunce. Right? You with me? Read, learn, think, have intelligent discussions with your wife. Learn things together. You can take classes together, you can read books together, you can listen to podcasts together, do whatever it is. Get interested in subjects together, go explore things together, research things together, whatever it is. Work on your mind. And ideally, here's an ideal hold up. In an ideal situation, you are working on your health together, you're working on your wealth together, you're working on your intellect together. You're working on your spirituality together. You're working on your social life together. In all ways of life, right? Mental, emotional, physical, social, spiritual, financial, all of it. You have this coordinated effort. It's not that you're both doing the exact same things, but that you're working on the important areas of life together. That's a beautiful thing. But work on your education. Work on your intellect. Be intelligent. Be educated. Be well thought. Right? Be well thought out. Isn't that funny? When you say something about education, you say it improperly, like be well thought. That's hilarious. Be thoughtful, and make sure your ideas are well thought out, more thought out than the last two sentences of this podcast. But work on that, right? I think that's a beautiful investment in the marriage. And one of the things I absolutely cherish with Rachel is that we every day are discussing ideas, and we're reading. We often read the same books, but very often we're reading and listening to different things, and we discuss them, we share with each other, and try to wrap our heads around all these different ideas about life. It's amazing. Overall, gentlemen, most important thing, keep winning her attention and respect. Not like a peacock that struts around, making all kinds of noise, putting all the feathers in the big show, putting this big performance that people see right through, but be like, the falcon or the eagle. Just, you respect it because of who it is, right? And how it operates. Never stop earning your position and the title of husband and lover. Never stop seeking her admiration and respect for you. Never stop trying to win her and woo her and love her and serve her. Invest, gentlemen, invest heavily in your marriage. And it will be one of the most important things you do in life and will have a massive effect on the quality and outcome of your life. Can't emphasize this one enough. It's made all the difference in my life and still does. And I mean, here we are. I just watched the sun dip into the ocean here in Portugal with my sweetheart, and we're just having an absolutely magical time here. And it's amazing. And I want every one of you to have an extraordinary marriage. So make that happen. All right, gentlemen. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast if you haven't done that, or the YouTube channel. Go to gregdenning.com. Check out the resources there. If you are not already in the Be the Man Masterclass and Tribe, join us. Join that brotherhood. Get in there. Subscribe to this. Go ahead and leave a comment. You can leave a review, up to 5-star ratings for the podcast on whatever platform you like to use, and share it. Share this with the other men you know who need to hear this, with your friends and your colleagues and your family. Like, join this movement with me, particularly around this one of let's make marriages count. They don't have to be the source of contention and frustration and misery. They can be so good. And our children deserve that. Our children deserve to grow up with parents who enjoy their marriage and have a really great marriage, so we can model it for them, but so they can also enjoy the benefits of it. So let's get after it. Make this happen. Share it with others. Lean in. Make your list of the things you can work on and want to do. In fact, you can share it. You can shoot comments and things that work for you, commitments you're going to make, and let's get out and make this happen and do something right now. So the biggest thing is, like, you listen to this podcast and you're like, yeah, it's good, I need to do something about that. If you don't write it down and you don't take action, it's way less likely to actually happen. Your probabilities drop dramatically. So at a minimum, write down the things that you want to work on. And at a higher level, write it down and then take action on something immediately. Love you, fellas. Reach upward. Be the man.